I wanted to comment, or wanted to ask you if you wanted to comment on this quote from the Daily News in their review of the book. Evidently, Allen started telling the truth. Weary of her mother's constant suspicions, she mumbles a half-hearted confession that she likes girls better than boys. When her older sister Margaret questions her further, she finally comes out. It's a revelation that prompts another question: is Dad gay? Her sister asks. So Allen tells another truth. And with that, everything begins to unravel, including her relationship with her father, his plans for her to take over the company, and her parents' marriage. Theirs was a union shakily built on a lie from the start, never strong enough to withstand real honesty. Allen's book begins to end there, although she still hasn't quite uncovered all the deceptions. In its final chapters, set decades later, she still hasn't. Why were all those priests bringing her father briefcases full of money? Why did he have a Jordanian passport, fear the Mossad, and make trips behind the Iron Curtain? Was he just a sort of roving, unofficial Vatican ambassador, or something more sinister? Allen never can satisfyingly answer that question, nor does she even try to answer an even more personal one. How did she survive all that abuse, all that alcohol, all that mad family dysfunction? And how did that damaged girl grow up to become a successful actress and business person, a sane woman in an apparently happy, long-term relationship? Perhaps there are some secrets we're determined to keep forever. So here's an opportunity to answer those questions.
Those are good questions. Well, first, let's take on a little bit of the Vatican.
Okay.
That's not an easy nut to crack. The Catholic Church, I like to say, is sort of the macro to my family's micro when it comes to keeping secrets. It's a culture that is steeped in that. And, you know, the Vatican Archives, just as one example for your viewers, you know, is a place you can eventually go to do some research if you are a scholar or get permission. However, none of the information of any pope is actually put into those archives until I think about 70-some years after that pope dies.
Oh.
And what that ensures is that anything that might be in those archives is not going to be held against anyone because they're all going to be dead.
Right.
So there's a lot of protection. And that's just the stuff they're going to be willing to put into the archives. So there's all kinds of things, as we know, in Vatican Bank mysteries that many people have read about, and shenanigans, and you know, there's a lot going on there. So I am still, you know, poking around, but I'm not so sure I'm going to be able to answer. I don't think, my assessment is my dad was definitely a special servant, a secret servant, if you will, to the Vatican. They've had many. It's you know, it's historic that, you know, it's not common knowledge, but you can get to it, that the Vatican has had many lay people that were very trustworthy. My father knew how to keep a secret. We know that.
Yes.
That would do courier type work. Nothing in the Vatican, even to this day, is sent via emails, and you know, anything that's important is hand delivered. That still exists today, and it certainly existed in the 50s. So things that involve other governments, that involve money, that involve things that maybe this religious institution doesn't want its flock to know about, gets hand delivered. And I think my dad was in that category. That's what I've come to believe after the research that I've been able to do and the things I've been able to uncover. In terms of the other thing, like, you know, basically what it said in the Daily News was, I guess I'm paraphrasing, you know, how did I survive all that?
Right.
I don't really know. I'd say that playing basketball, in hindsight, because I read that article when it came out, it was one of the early ones when my book was published a couple months back. And I thought about that question. You know, I was like, you know, that's a fair question. And it's not the first time I've been asked it. But you only know what you know. And we are, at our core, we're survivors. and some of us have different skill sets, but definitely being an athlete, looking back on it, I think really contributed. My focus and obsession, playing basketball, just morning, noon, and night, summers, being able to release probably things, not consciously, anger, frustration, getting physical, getting tired, having a release. I think that actually might have been a lifesaver for me, looking back.
Yeah, and you write beautifully about the just the injuries and the wounds and the experience of the pain as a distraction from all that's going on.
Absolutely.
I mean, I'm sure some cutters would relate to that.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, that sort of drive and sort of working it till you're just exhausted and spent. I think there's a reason people run and work out. It makes us feel better.
Right.
Endorphins. I'm sure all of that contributed to my survival. And then it's also maybe a little personality. We're all built differently. I think part of my, MO is, accomplishing a little workaholism. I got a lot going on. It's kind of my thing. And I'm sure, a psychologist would pull all that, thread it back to, still needing to prove myself or be special or all those things. I mean, that's never going to go away. It's just, there's some things that you don't ever heal fully, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So.